Good morning, everybody. So we're here to do a watercolor video that I actually hadn't planned on doing, but it's a good idea. So thanks, Kelly, for suggesting it. And this is just for you. And those of you who, like Kelly, want to see how I've been doing some of my watercolors lately. First thing I want to do is share this with you. Now, if you've watched some of my watercolor videos and or live Ustreams, you've seen this portfolio before. This is one of quite a few that I have. And this is one I started pretty early on. Hold on. We're having morning coffee. I'm actually still in my pajamas, you know, braless, so be grateful that you're looking at the table and not in my face. Holy cow. And if I do some coughing and hacking and wheezing, it's because my allergies and asthma are kind of on the rampage this morning. Okay, so I started this portfolio fairly early on in my journey getting back to painting and fine art and mixed media. I used to work at a really great gift shop here in San Jose called Elegant Corner. It was one of these crafters cooperative type gift stores where you rent a booth to sell your creative things that you make. And I had a booth there that I rented, and I also was a sales clerk for a very long time until they closed and went out of business. We were allowed to bring small projects to work on at the front desk, and I either had small embroidery projects with me or I would bring some painting and doodling. So I started out on my mixed media painting journey with the small set of watercolor paints that you've all seen me use before, and I've put it away now. Holy cow. Where did I put it? I should have grabbed it before I turned the camera on. I don't know exactly where it is. Let's see. Oh, here it is. So I started out just using this Art Alternatives paint set, which I've showed on camera before. I don't know, the brush is long gone, but and I really only keep this for sentimental reasons. I don't really use it too much anymore, but it's the first watercolor kit I ever bought. I think it was like $6 or something like that, and I had a coupon, so I got it for half price. And I didn't really know what I was doing, so I thought this was good enough to get started. And then I used a General's Layout pencil, which is a soft, smudgy pencil that's kind of semi-water reactive. And I really just used these two things and sketchbook paper. I learned a lot of things about while using those products. We'll talk about some of them today. So these are some of the doodles I did using those, and I would do the doodles first in the pencil, and then I would watercolor them in. Now, I learned right away that I didn't like working on sketchbook paper because it's sketchbook paper, so it's not intended to be watercolored on. So the paper pills, it warps like crazy, it doesn't take the paint very well. By that same token, I did some really interesting, cute doodles that I painted in. Most of these are from 2008. They're, you know, nothing special. They're simple drawings, but they got me back into doodling, and I would practice all the time and do drawings all the time. Quite a few of these were scanned and reprinted onto greeting cards and tote bags, and I sold quite a few of them that way. And I always have put words, right away I was putting words in my work. So that's something I've always done. And I like yellow ochre. Almost all the backgrounds are yellow ochre. That's what that color is. But these are all really simple. They're nothing complicated, and they were just me getting familiar with my materials, learning what I could and couldn't do with the materials I had, what I liked and didn't like about that, and getting myself back into the practice of drawing and working with paint. I liked the General's Layout pencil because it would smudge a little bit and it would give me some shadows. without actually having to change the paint color. I think for the most part this whole page is done in the same color of yellow with the Stabilo pencil, I mean the General's Layout pencil. The same with this one. It's blue. I think there's a little bit of yellow ochre, and then the General's Layout pencil. This is one of my best-selling coffee designs, the blue one. But I did a lot of these, as you can see. A lot of them. This one was done for the local Boy Scouts of America troop. This one in its black and white version I still use on some of my business cards. So I just wanted to show you that and show you where I started from, and, you know, encourage you guys, you know, to just play. So this is what I've been working on lately. Now I've been, as you all know, if you follow me on social media and you watch my Watercolor Wednesdays, getting back into watercolors in a major way. Need some more coffee. I'm rediscovering my love of watercolor and why I love working with them to begin with. I do love them, and I have to say, if you told me, Gina, you can take one paint medium from your studio to take with you and you then leave the house, but you can only take one, I would take my watercolor. I love my acrylic paints, but I love my watercolors more. There you have it. I've been working a lot with Janet, watching Janet Rogers videos and books by Jean Haynes. I did get a couple of Jean's videos recently. I had to order them from the UK because nobody had them here, but I haven't watched them yet, but I've been working through her book. The one I'm working on right now is called Atmospheric Watercolors, and the one before that was Color and Light in Watercolor. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Let me get the books and I'll be right back. Okay, so here are the two Jean Haynes books that I've been working with. Color and Light in Watercolor by Jean Haynes. And she's an artist out of the UK, and you can tell by the way she spells color, because in America we drop the U, but there they have the U. That's one way, easy way to tell. And then this is the one I'm working in right now, Atmospheric Watercolors. And I did just yesterday get DVDs that accompany these books, but I haven't watched them yet. They just came in yesterday. So the other one is Janet Rogers, and Janet Rogers and her husband Steve Rogers are both watercolor artists. You can get their DVDs on at cheapjoes.com. All three of these artists have short blurbs or excerpts from their videos on YouTube. So if you search for their names on YouTube here, you can find little short excerpts of their videos, and that will help you decide if you want to see more. Look at your library first, and if your library has them, then I would get the books that way, or DVDs that way. If your library doesn't have them, then, you know, see if you can get a used copy. I ordered my stuff from Amazon.com and Amazon.com UK. So anyway, I like the loose style that they both have, and a few other artists here on YouTube have with their watercolors. I really want to stay loose and expressive and not be really tight and bunchy with my watercolor painting. So anyway, here's some samples of what I've been working on. Some flowers. Janet Rogers does a lot of flowers. I actually sold one of these to my dear friend Cindy Utter. This one I think I did live while on Ustream. Somebody asked me about painting glass, so I painted a little still life of a jar. A fuchsia. And they always, told the story before, they remind me of my grandfather. My grandparents, my dad's parents, had a big fuchsia plant in their backyard. And one of my favorite pastimes was to go pop the fuchsia flowers, pop them open. I used to get in so much trouble. My grandfather used to yell at me. Some of these are exercises from the books I've been working from. Like this one. And I will definitely be doing that one again. I want to try to do my dad's face and my husband's dad's face, I think, this way. And let's see. And this one. And then I did some of these. These are just little color studies. This one is summer, winter, fall, spring, and this is blue. So these are the ones that everybody's asking me about. So I'm going to show you how I did these little color studies. They're simple, they're quick, they're easy, and there's, you don't have to feel like, geez, I can't paint a flower or draw a face or, do a jar. These are easy, simple shapes, and they're great to get started with because you learn about your medium and what it can and can't do. So I'm going to just use a round brush. This is a Princeton Select round number 12. And the number 12 is this size. I won't say number 12 because in every brand it's going to be a little different number, but about this size brush is my favorite size round brush to work with. You're going to need some water. This is what size is it? 8x8 hot press watercolor block, paper block, fluid watercolor block. It's just called fluid watercolor. I got it at Dick Blick, and I like working with a block because it holds the edges down so that the paper doesn't curl when you're working with it, and you don't have to worry about stretching it and taping it down. I got the hot press because I wanted to try it. Normally I use cold press. I like the cold press has a little bit of a texture to the surface of the paper. The hot press is completely smooth. There is something called soft press, which is like halfway between. Fabriano makes a soft press. And then there's something, I think it's called rough press, which is really, really rough textured paper. I like cold press. I don't mind this hot press, but I'm not used to working with it because it's really smooth. I'm used to the paper having a little bit of texture. It's not bad, but I don't know that. I think if you gave me a choice, I'd still pick the cold press. All right, so I'm going to get my watercolors wet. And I'm going to get all my extra colors here wet because I don't know what I'm going to use. So when you're doing these color studies, start out by just doing one color. In this case, I did blue. That's the easiest way to get started. So let's do one of those where we just do one color. More coffee. Let's do red. I'm going to start with, my palette has, and I'll put this here so you guys can see, my palette has 3 reds in it: Madder Lake Deep, Permanent Red Deep, and Quinacridone Rose. I'm going to start with Madder Lake Deep. And I'm going to just use the tip of my brush to draw a circle. I'm barely pushing down onto the paper, and I didn't dilute the watercolor paint very much. It's pretty much full pigment, full strength. Then I'm going to rinse off my brush on the dirty side, dip it into the cleaner side. I actually have to I have to clean my water later today. And I'm going to run the wet brush around the outside of the circle I just painted. And that paint's going to start to bleed. And it's not going to go into the dry paper. It's going to follow the easier path, and it's going to stay with the water. It's going to follow the water. These little color studies are great for learning what you can and can't do with the watercolor, what kind of properties it has, how well it's pigmented, learning about pushing it around into the wet water, all kinds of things. So I'm going to run my wet brush around all 3 circles because I want that outer edge to be softer and to bleed. And you can see that it's starting to bleed. So I'm going to now pull this paint where it's bleeding out. I'm just going to keep continually grabbing clean water. I'm going to pull it out so we don't get too many hard edges. Sometimes I'll do this and it'll make it drip. Okay, so now I'm going to go into one of my other reds. This is the Permanent Red Deep. And I'm going to work into that water, those wet spots. And I'm going to add some of this. And it's going to bleed and blend with the other colors on here. Grab some more clean water. When you're adding a second color to these, you want to remember to look at your color wheel. And whatever color you started with, pick a color that's next to it on the color wheel, not one that's across from it. You want a color that'll blend nice. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Okay, on the same token, I'm going to grab some cleaner water and I'm going to It's already cool, right? All right, we've got one more red over here. We've got the Quinacridone Rose, which is super pink. It's like almost a magenta. I'm still sticking to the outside of my circles, darkening that outer edge, and blending these colors around the circles, letting them bleed into each other by adding water. And trying to give it movement by pulling the paint out and pulling it out in different directions and whacking it on the table so that I get some cool drips. And you want it to really to have some movement, yeah? I like that. Let's add some more of this rose. So now I'm going to pull it down and purposefully create some movement. And whatever I do on one side, I'm going to do on the other. Okay, and I'm not going to leave that like that. I'm going to take the brush and just put water, just get it wet with water, and use it to soften up some of these edges that I just put down. This isn't about filling up the whole paper with paint. The white space or negative space is just as important as the paint. But this is really more about playing with your colors and playing with your watercolor paints and deciding what they will and will not do, what you like and don't like about them. And that will help you later on when you want to paint something else like a face or a landscape. I like that. Okay, so now I'm going to take my brush, again with just water, no paint, and I'm going to run it around the edge of the inside of my circle with just water. And what's going to happen is you see that the paint is starting to bleed into the inner part of the circle. See that? So I'm going to do that to all of them. And you don't have to run it around the whole inside edge. You can just do parts. Whatever feels right. We're not adding any more pigment. We're just using what's already on there. Okay. Now, if I was going to add another color to this, we've got all of our reds on here, right? Oops. So here's the red on my color wheel. So if I wanted to add another color, if I added green, then it's going to blend with the red and you're going to get brown. And I don't want any brown on here. Some days that may be what you want, and other days not so much. So I would rather add something that's next to it that I know is going to make a good color combination than one that's across from it that's going to just make mud. So you know if you do the red with the blue, you're going to get purple. You know if you do the red with the yellow, you're going to get orange. So in this case, I'm going to add blue, and I really like this Prussian blue, this one here. And color wheels are not hard to get. They're inexpensive. You can get them at any arts and crafts store. You can also probably download one on the internet. You could probably Google color wheel, and I bet something comes up that you could print from your computer. All right, so, and I'm not going to add a ton of this because I want this study to be mostly about the red. And I'm going to make sure, yeah, I've got some wet spots here on the paper still. And this is a really strong color. So I know I don't want to add too much. And I'm tilting my paper because then it's going to drip. I want it to drip. I'm just pulling out the edges with clean water, letting it drip and flow. It's blending a little bit with the red. And I like that. I do think for balance, I need a little bit up here so that the piece looks balanced. Yeah. The other thing I really love to do is to splatter. So I'm going to actually take some of the blue and I'm going to put it on here on my lid with some water and make a watery mix. Yeah. Now I'm going to dry it. As I'm drying it, I'm going to keep tipping it and keep encouraging that paint to drip and flow. Okay, because this was done on a block, you can see it's still fairly flat and it didn't curl too much. Now I can just lift up the edge where it's not glued down and stick my palette knife in there and then pop it off with the glue. There we go. And I've got another little watercolor study, clean piece of paper underneath to get started on another one. So give that a try and play and have some fun with your watercolors. Learn what they will and won't do, and above all, just have some fun. All right, I will see you guys later. Don't forget to go out and have a great day. Do something nice for yourself because you deserve it, and I'll see you later.